when you talk about the wrongs, the evils, the negative performance of Nigerian government, they come after you with all security agency. They go after activists for saying the truth. You dare not talk to our leaders because they have the power. And at the end, they claim to be practicing democracy. Is Nigeria truly practicing democracy? And for those that are supporting these people, perhaps you guys don't even know what democracy means. Democracy allows for the freedom of speech. I'm not saying I support defamation of character. That's a different thing entirely. When the government are misbehaving, when any leader is misbehaving, the citizens have the right to criticize. That is democracy, man. But in Nigeria, it's a different thing. Where do they learn that from? That obviously is not democracy. Now, to further display how democracy is practiced, let's watch these two videos I'm about to display. I will display them one after the other, and at the end of it all, we will discuss if Nigeria is truly practicing democracy or something else. Here is the first video.
I want to ask you not to, if you don't want to, comment on the President of the United States. But is the right direction for police today in this environment to go out and dominate and to show that they're quote unquote not weak? What should the police be doing now to calm this terrible situation?
Let me just say this to the President of the United States on behalf of the police chiefs in this country. Please, if you don't have something constructive to say, keep your mouth shut, because you're putting men and women in their early 20s at risk. It's not about dominating. It's about winning hearts and minds. And let's be clear. We do not want people to confuse kindness with weakness, but we don't want ignorance to ruin what we've got here in Houston. And speaking for my colleagues across the country, where their officers are being injured, community members are being injured, if you don't have something to say, like Forrest Gump, then don't say it.
So that was the video of a police chief in the United States of America asking the president, which was the then Donald Trump in his first term, to keep quiet if he doesn't know what he's saying or what to say. That is democracy. See, now what led to that interview, in case for those of you that may not have remembered, we still remember the incidents of the black guy that was racially abused to death in the United States. That's the person of George Floyd that was being suffocated to death by two police officers. So in retaliation, there were protests, mass protests against the government of the United States. So in Donald Trump in response to the police, he was asking the police to apply more force in confronting the people. And in response to the president, that was the police chief speaking. Say, if the president have nothing constructive or meaning to say, let him keep quiet. That is trying to put the risk of many civilian lives, many civilians at risk. He's risking the lives of many civilians. That's what the police chief says. Say the comment of the president, if the police should go by it, there will be casualties. Whereas the police was actually on the wrong. That is democracy. In Nigeria, with a police chief, with anybody in Nigeria tell the president to keep quiet, the family will be wiped out of the face of the earth. And we call that democracy. Where we learn from. Now, here is another wonderful video. And I think this is of the president of France. If you still remember, but let me just take us back there. Watch the video.
A member of the public slapped French President Emmanuel Macron in the face earlier today. Mr. Macron was visiting restaurant owners in the southeast part of France as COVID restrictions are being eased in the country. You can see here clearly on video the moment the incident happened as he greeted crowds.
So how many of you remember that video? How many of you remember that incident when President Emmanuel of France was being slapped by a citizen of France? Do you still remember? A president was given a hot slap, as you've seen on that video. And what happened after that video? The Frenchman was arrested, taken to court, and was sentenced to 4 months imprisonment. What was the 4 months all about? He was being charged for assault, slapping another man, violent conduct. That was the charges. There was nothing like he slapped the president. They did not differentiate slapping the president from slapping another French citizen. It was all the same. He was tried for it, convicted, and sentenced to 4 months imprisonment. That is democracy. You slap the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, your community, your entire tribe will be God of Israel, are we practicing democracy really? Can we practice democracy? Let no animal, let no idiot there come and tell me, are you now suggesting someone should slap the president? Is it even a good thing to do? The guy that slapped the president in his defense in court said the president violated COVID-19 rules as at that time. That the president opted for a handshake against the rules of the pandemic at that time. That's why he gave him a slap. He justified it, but for the act of violent conduct, he was sentenced to 4 months imprisonment. In Nigeria, you don't have rights. You can't speak. You won't even get to the president. An attempt to go towards him, you are a dead man. Which kind of animalistic practice are all this? Where are we getting all this from? Today in Nigeria, when you talk against a powerful politician, you are in trouble. The supporters will tell you you go to prison. See, I don't know. We don't have sense in Nigeria as a country. Majority of us don't have sense. We don't know how things should be done. And that's why when people refer to Nigeria as a zoo, some people react. Do you know majority of our leaders actually act like animals, and majority of the people they are presiding over are actually animals and zombies? So how do you define a zoo if the way we act in this country is not a zoological system? It is even getting worse now in the Bola Ahmed Tinubu regime that activists, human rights activists, people with voices are being clamped down, and they call that democracy. It is really unfortunate. You see this Bola Ahmed Tinubu regime going after activists the way it is going recently, going after voices the way it is going recently, is becoming very, very obvious that
this is the worst government